Good evening, everybody. What is going on? This is show number 100 of Biscuits and SEC Live. Thank you to each and every one of you who have watched us along the way, who have subscribed to the newsletter, who have read some of our old blogs. We appreciate every single one of you. Light the beacons. It is time. The season is here. Week 0. We have college football games this weekend. Cannot wait. And then we got SEC games coming up next week. So that's going to be a ton of fun. As always, everybody, be sure to go sign up for the Morning Biscuits newsletter right there, biscuitsandsec.com/newsletter. Hammer put it out this morning, did a great job. That comes to you every Wednesday during the off season. And then on Mondays and Fridays during the season, our in-season cadence starts next week, y'all, because as I said, the season is here. Week 1 is just around the corner. So as always, everybody, we are also presented by the Steer Agency, but I'm not going to belabor the point. We're going to get right into it. Hammer is out in Myrtle Beach right now. He is on vacation with his in-laws. So he is enjoying the last breath of summer before we get to the fall and games. 15 weeks straight of games, y'all. It is going to be a great season. It's going to be a lot of fun. So again, we're going to get right into it here, but I do want to just say, guys, 100 shows. It has been awesome being with every single one of you each night. Rick Willmarth, Captain Biscuit, my man, he has been with us basically since the beginning. So we will have a Biscuit of the Week in order to honor this tradition that we have had from the start at the end of the show. Since Hammer's out, we've got the pre-recorded show. I'm going to be with you guys in the background. I'll be watching. I'll see all the comments and everything. I'll put some comments up as necessary on the screen as you guys are watching our predictions here, which I think are a lot of fun. There's a couple surprises in there that I think you guys are going to enjoy. And also, everybody, we are doing very well. Our analytics are great in terms of Biscuits and SEC. They're through the roof, better than anything that we've seen in the last couple of years. And that's thanks to all of you. So tell a friend. Make sure that if you have not seen what has been going on at Biscuits and SEC, and you got a friend who you think would enjoy our content, Southern culture, Southern food, and SEC football, then make sure they go subscribe. Because also, I don't know if you saw this, but Alondra Villarreal, she was with us today. Her episode just came out. We've been putting out a ton over on our YouTube channel on Extra Biscuits, which is our new little thing that we've been doing because we can't fit everything in to an hour on this show that we want to do each and every week. So Alondra Villarreal, she was today. That one dropped about an hour ago, so y'all be sure to go check that one out after this episode. We have had some awesome guests on here. It has been so much fun talking with all these folks. Ball, just talking about their teams, what to expect. We had Carter Carls on from Texas A&M on 3, Aggie Yell. He gave us some great insight on the Aggies. We had David Waters on from Gators Breakdown Podcast. He's been around for 10 years. He just celebrated a decade covering the Gators. He knows Florida like the back of his hand. Reagan Scarda on from Razorback Updates. That's RAEZOR back updates. She does a great job covering the Hogs. So, guys, it has just been a who's who. We've got more coming out here in the next couple of weeks. Not next couple of weeks, next couple of days. We don't have weeks before the season. We got days now before the season. And also, y'all, Jake Crane recorded this one today. He will be coming out. I believe it's going to be on Friday. So y'all be on the lookout for that. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that bell so you guys don't miss his preview of the Auburn Tigers, the team he roots for, while also covering the rest of the SEC. We have almost hit 200 subscribers there on our YouTube channel. We're up like crazy in terms of our numbers. So we appreciate you guys for subscribing. Make sure to tell a friend. Go subscribe so you don't miss any of those things. Also, I'm about to get into it. I promise. I'm going to hit the play button here on our SEC predictions. But we have a couple of big announcements coming down the pike. And I can't exactly give you – I was hoping I had it tonight. To give you guys at least one of them. But two, not one, but two. We will have two big predictions for you guys coming up here real soon. I think I'm going to be able to talk about all of those next week. So on our live show next week, I think I'm going to be able to reveal exactly what both of those are. But think going to games. going to games. Maybe Bossman and Hammer are going to some games. Maybe just Bossman. Could be interesting. I think you guys are really going to enjoy what we have cooking here in the background on Biscuits and SEC. And I promise you, we will announce it as soon as we can, most likely on next week's show. I think you're going to like what we're cooking for sure. All right, y'all. Again, I'm going to be in the background. I'm going to be seeing all your comments. So if you got a comment as we go through this, our SEC prediction show, we recorded this a little bit earlier for those of you who joined us a little bit late. We recorded this a couple hours ago since Hammer is in Myrtle Beach. But SEC prediction show, I'm in the background. I'll put up any of the comments that you guys have as we go through it. And then I'll see you guys on the back end of the show for our Leach Coach of the Week and our Biscuit of the Week, as we do every single week. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. Here we go. Here's play SEC predictions from Biscuits and SEC.
Welcome in, everybody. We got Hammer and Bossman here. We are pre-recording this. Bossman is crushing it this week with all the extra biscuit stuff and the show. I'm on vacation, so my schedule's a little bit jumbled, and I couldn't make our normal live show tonight happen. So we're pre-recording our SEC prediction show now, and it'll be broadcast live later on tonight, premiering at our usual time. So enjoy this prediction show for us in the meantime. But before we talk predictions, we do want to chat a little bit about the whole LSU NFL players coming back and forth. I hit on that in the newsletter this morning. If you're not subscribed, another shameless plug to subscribe, biscuitsandsec.com/newsletter. But Bossman, what are your thoughts? We just got a ruling a couple hours ago, I believe, 15-0 vote. SEC presidents voted to uphold the sanctions or, like penalties imposed from the Sankey and whoever they had their meeting the other night, voted to uphold those sanctions if somebody tried to play a former NFL player who had signed a contract and all that. So it seems like this is not happening maybe, but more lawsuits to come. What is your read on the whole situation?
Well, my first thoughts on the situation are sick mustache. Looks great.
Thank you.
Vacation stash, man. I'm not going to not acknowledge that, okay? Looking pretty fly for a white guy.
I try.
When it comes to LSU and what's going on with this, first, I find it interesting that LSU's president voted with the league, or did they abstain? They abstained.
It was 15-0. One did not vote, and it was LSU.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Well, yeah. Anyway, we got a lot of friends in Baton Rouge, a lot of friends who cover LSU, who root for LSU. This is not a shot at them. I think it's okay to disagree on some of these things. But a lot of what has been coming out of LSU is that this is an NCAA problem. This is the NCAA's fault, And I don't necessarily agree with the NCAA and their 2022 marker where they cut it off, okay, in terms of the 5-for-5 rule. That's kind of partially how we got here. No, the thing is, this is a Lane Kiffin thing, and this is an LSU thing. LSU is often the stepchild of the SEC, who's always trying to do things a little bit differently or gain a competitive edge in a way that might go outside the boundaries. It has happened many times in the past, and it is now happening again, especially when you have somebody like Lane Kiffin at the head. I don't necessarily fault Lane Kiffin for trying to find a competitive edge. That is what coaches are supposed to do. I understand that piece of it. However, this has always been a line in the sand. It's a red line that you do not cross. People don't even try to cross it. They don't even contemplate it because it's done. The kid goes to the NFL. He declares for the NFL. He is no longer a part of college athletics. He can't come back. Everyone has known this. The floodgates started opening with college basketball recently. No fans want this. No fans like it. To the credit of many in Baton Rouge as well, a lot of them are coming out and saying, we don't love this. We really don't, but we just need some rules, some semblance, some adults in charge in the room. I am thankful that it looks like we've got some of those adults in charge in the room and that these presidents got together and stopped it. And that Greg Sankey now has the power of Darth Sith or Dark Sith Lord Sankey, all right? And he's got the power to put a nip this in the bud because we have to stop it here. By the way, there is not much that gets college presidents, college athletic directors on board, even within a conference, a lot of the times these guys have very different opinions, and it takes a lot to get them all on board for something. Eventually, in the SEC, you typically get to unanimous votes, but that takes a lot of time. They got to this unanimous pretty much, except for LSU. They got to this in like 48 hours, and the Big Ten did it in 24, right?
Yeah.
So something had to be seriously amiss and seriously a problem, and the problem is Lane Kiffin, okay? So let's just say it. We don't have to sugarcoat it. I think that's what's going on. What else do you have to say about it?
I have two thoughts on this to piggyback off what you said. First of all, people saying this is the NCAA's fault. There is some truth to that, of course, because legally speaking, judges are granting players the right to do this. So the NCAA doesn't have their house in order, and this is, being allowed by court rulings. That's fair. The two things that give me pause on that is, first of all, there was a report I included in the newsletter from Football Scoop that Lane Kiffin, this didn't just happen and, okay, these players are available. If I don't recruit them, they're going to go play for somebody else. Lane Kiffin was reportedly behind the scenes reaching out to these guys and their agents saying, hey, why don't you bring a lawsuit in the state of Louisiana so that you can come back and play? Apparently he did that with Daquan Wright and Xavion Harris in particular, that initially brought the suit on in the state of Louisiana. So it's not as innocent as, this was just happening and, I don't want other people to get a competitive edge over me. He was back channeling behind the scenes, as he does. And then the second thing is, and I wrote this in the newsletter too, look at the response of guys like Kirby or Dan Lanning, who said, not interested, right? The guys on my team now have earned the right to play. I'm just not interested. If somebody else wants to do it, fine. Personally, not going to do it. Lane Kiffin could have taken that approach. He could have said, hey, guys, I'm just not into this, which is what he's saying publicly. He's all over Pat McAfee saying, I know. I wish this wasn't the case, guys. It's too bad. It's too bad. But if it is the case, I got to take advantage. And I just said, no, man, you don't. If you don't agree with it, you can be a grown man and say, I don't agree with this. I'm not going to participate. And if somebody else wants to, that's fine. Personally, I'm out. That's what Kirby's done. That's what Dan Lanning's done. But Lane Kiffin just can't do it, because what a disadvantage they would be at if they didn't take advantage of it. So I think both of those reasons, again, just it's BS to me. It shouldn't be allowed. And even if it is allowed, I think coaches that I like to root for are saying, I'm not interested, even if this is allowed. And he, of course, is not.
Yeah, he's the crazy kid in the meme in the back seat. Can you just be normal? And he's like, no, I can't be normal. That's Lane Kiffin at every single turn.
Yeah.
He's so full of it. He's so full of it. Okay. And we can all see through it. And I get it. You're an LSU fan. You want to circle the wagons around your coach. If that's what you want to do, I get it. But he is so full of it, and the rest of college football can see through it. And so I'm glad it looks like that this is going to be stopped. The one other thing quickly I'll say about it, and then we can get into predictions, because I'm excited to do that, is, we've all had to become lawyers. All right. We're all sick of it, of being lawyers and talking about courtrooms and TROs and whatever, right? Let's get to some football. But look, all these judges have all this power now. I put this on Twitter the other day. Let's go back and look at the Andrew Jackson quote. The judge has made his decision. Now let him enforce it. Enforce it. How are you going to enforce it? Are you going to enforce this against the SEC? You and what Army? You are not going to enforce it, okay? The SEC, when it comes down to it, they've got the power. So all these blood-sucking lawyers out there who continue to sue and sue and sue and sue and sue and sue, keep suing. We don't care. Screw you. You're the judge. You enforce it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think we'll see if they can, because I don't think LSU's done in basketball either. Whether this comes to bear in football, basketball, they've got the same thing going on with RJ Lewis. So we'll see how it unfolds. I'm hopeful that it will not unfold with guys coming back from the NFL week before the season begins. So with that, let's move into our predictions. I think the way we're going to structure this is we'll start with just SEC-wide predictions. We predicted the records for every single team, which is incredibly tedious if you've never done it, because you have to make sure that they match and everybody's winning and losing the correct amount of games. Then we'll go to SEC championship, and then we'll go to the teams we think will make the CFP out of the SEC. We're not doing a full bracket. We don't cover the Big Ten or these other conferences. So we'll obviously get to, playoff bracket predictions later on in the year. But for now, we're just going to give you the SEC teams we think will be included in the big dance at the end of the year. So without further ado, let's take a look at our record predictions for every single SEC team across the league. Our graphics here are hopefully good and clear, although a slightly different format. I was cursing Excel before we got on here, but this is what we have here. My predictions on the left, of course, Bossman on the right. Pretty similar overall. What's your overall read on how our predictions both look?
Well, we talked about this pre-show, and I've got a couple teams there that are hitting that 11-win mark, Georgia and Texas. You've got all three. You got Texas going 9-3. That's an interesting one. We're going to have to circle that one. But then 10-2, 10-2, 10-2. So you don't think anybody's getting up to that 11 win mark in the regular season, which I find interesting. For me and you as well, to a degree, we think the middle of the SEC this year, that tier 2 kind of dropping into tier 3, is going to be extremely tough and just going to eat like this. This feels like the old SEC in a way, like 10 years ago, right? Where everybody would just be like, the middle of the SEC is just going to be churning, right? Just these guys are going to beat the crap out of each other. It's going to be a pile of dust. And they might even sabotage themselves in terms of the playoff. I think that's probably going to happen this year. Look at all those 9-3s I got: LSU, Alabama, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Ole Miss, and then right on their heels, Tennessee and Florida. So you have a lot of in there as well at that 9-3 mark too. So that's kind of where I land. I also think too, going down to the lower ones, I'm interested to see your 6-6 with Mississippi State. That's great. They get back to a bowl game. Auburn as well, getting back to a bowl game would be huge. But look, Vanderbilt, we both have them at 4-8. Those guys went 10-2 last year. And Corey, our friend Corey at Locked On Vanderbilt, Corey Burton, he was saying he's expecting 6-6 or better, and that it's the lazy take for Vandy. The Vandy's going to fall off. Well, I don't think it's a lazy take. I looked at the schedule and I'm like, I don't see it with a first-year starting quarterback and Diego Pavia gone and all the new things you got to do. But I do think that Vandy and Kentucky and Mississippi State especially, I think they're going to be able to get somebody, man. And so that's mostly what I got. The only other thing I'll say on it is that we talked about this in the last show, looking through this and really going through and doing the wins and losses and everything. Oh my gosh, dude. I hate it. I hate what I had to put in here. I really don't have a lot of belief in a lot of this stuff. There's a couple I have that I am firmly behind, but like most of this, the rest of it, man, just throw a dart at a dartboard. I feel like it's a crapshoot.
It completely is. And to piggyback off your point on Vandy, I feel terrible about that one. Truly, I think it's my least favorite prediction that I made, because I do think that team is, improved. I love that coaching staff. I look at the schedule and I look at not just Pavia, but their returning production, I think, is over 100. It's like 102nd. It's the worst in the SEC. Now, 90% of that was Pavia because he was their leading rusher and threw for almost 4,000 yards or whatever. So it's basically all him. But I think Clark Lee's done a tremendous job. I also think that, losing what you lose, it's okay to have a really big setback year, which again, I guess 6-6 would be to flip 4 games. But I just have a hard time looking at the schedule and it's not even Jared Curtis. Blaze Berlowich gets the nod, at least to start the season as the starter. But I just look at it and think, I think they're going to be very competitive. I think they're going to lose a lot of close games. Somebody unfortunately has to lose these games. And again, as you said, top to bottom here, I've got a lot in that kind of middle. It's just like a muddy, mucky mess from 9-3 to 7-5. And even the teams at the top, I've got everybody losing at least twice. I don't think there's a ton of separation here from the very top to about, midway down. I think these teams are all very competitive, and they'll be playing a lot of close games for the most part. So trying to predict the whole season is, an incredibly difficult task and not one that I enjoyed doing that much, if we're being honest.
Yeah, I'm with you. So let's dive into it a little bit then. What are a couple of those teams that you feel pretty good about, at least, right? A lot of this we said we don't feel very good about, but you had Texas A&M pretty high up there. Some people have them dropping back to Texas 8-4. Some people have them at Texas 9 and Texas A&M 9-3, Texas 9-3. Both of us have them at that 10-2 mark. You got them at 10-2. Also, Oklahoma. Talk to me about those two up there, because you have Texas at 9-3, and a lot of people have them up there in the SEC title game, in the college football playoff. You have them on that cut line again, for a couple years in a row. So talk to me through that top four for you.
Yeah, I think obviously Georgia, at this point, I think you can kind of set their clock. They're going to be in Atlanta. Hard to bet against them. So I got them at the top of the SEC. I am very high on Oklahoma this year, just in looking at what they return. They return a ton of production. Hopefully Mateer can stay healthy. We talked to the Sooner Smiths the other night. That show is on our YouTube channel, of course. But that defense is going to be really, really, really nasty. And that's what kind of gives me confidence here, is I think they did a lot in the portal offensively to get help for Mateer. His second year in the SEC, he should be a little bit more comfortable. And then I just love that defense. I mean, they return a ton of production there, and they were just nasty last year. So, I mean, if you've got guys on the defensive line, like Taylor Ween or Wine, I think it's how it's pronounced. I'm going to completely butcher this. I'm just going to say AJ Adebawore, I think.
Hey, Chad.
Good. Yeah.
Hammer's phoning a friend. How do you say that? Because he nailed it on the show.
He nailed it on the show. I did not. But then again, like guys like David Stone, Jaden Jackson, I mean, these are all like, I just think they're incredibly deep on the D line. Their secondary is filthy with the Bowen twins. And so I like Oklahoma. They went 10-2 last year, so they're returning a ton of guys. I've got them going 10-2 again. For A&M, homer pick here, most likely. But I think people are doubting Marcel Reed. I'm high on him. It ended poorly. He went 11-1 last year as a starting quarterback. Call it whatever you want, bad schedule, or everybody else around him lifted him up. I think he's a really good college quarterback. I think most teams would love to have a guy like Marcel Reed. And I think he's only going to get more comfortable as he improves and has another step in the system, as well as it's going to help him tremendously to have a really, really strong receiving core, which he had last year, but he's got a little bit of a different dynamic with Isaiah Horton being a strong, X-dominant kind of sized receiver who he can lean on in third downs. And they don't have to kind of scheme him open. He can go up and get it in one-on-one, and he can help out in the red zone. And when they get a little bit closer to the red area, which is where Reed struggled with turnovers a year ago a little bit. The offensive line for A&M gives me some pause for sure, but on the other side of the ball, I trust Elko, and I trust that he said the secondary is the best it's ever been. We talked with Carter Carrolls about all the guys they return. Tons of depth on the back end at A&M. The linebackers, I think I feel pretty good about. Defensive line, you're hearing really good things out of camp from Antaro Saka and DJ Hicks. So they've got some guys there too. I just trust that defense is going to be top 5 unit in the SEC probably. And I think with Marcel Reed on the offense, they can get it done. But there's definitely some homerism in there. But I'm high on both A&M and Oklahoma heading into the season. So that's kind of the, reasoning. I've got them up there. And then Texas, you had them at 11-1. For me, again, maybe a bit of a homer pick, but it's just a schedule thing more than anything. I think hosting Ohio State is an incredibly challenging game in the out of conference. And based on what I've seen from them, I don't trust this current iteration to roll through the SEC, especially in a 9-game slate. Like we saw last year, they slipped up, of course, against Florida. Georgia took care of business against them. But like we talked about, they went to overtime with Kentucky and they went to overtime with Mississippi State. So adding another conference game plus playing Ohio State, I just think, we'll touch into whether or not I think they make the playoff or not with that record. But I think they sit at 9-3 again because they have a really, really hard schedule.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's going to be very interesting with we talked about this in the last show. For me, Texas has answered the questions that I had about them last year, and I think that they have improved their roster. So foreshadowing maybe as to what I think about the Texas Longhorns, but you already saw I've got them at 11-1. So I think they're going to be a stellar team this year. Look, there's been some, is Austin burning? Is there a whole bunch of craziness going on in the locker room at Texas? Steve Sarkisian, does he have the reins on this thing? Their linebacker, Ty Anthony Smith, he's no longer on the team. Arch Manning camp reports aren't that great. They're not showing who threw the ball on an interception in a camp clip. There's all sorts of smoke coming out of Austin that this is not maybe a very good team or that maybe some of it is overhyped. Look, it's camp, man. It's preseason. I don't really buy that. I think that this roster is loaded. Based on how Arch Manning played at the end of last year, I think that he is coming into this year with a ton of momentum. He's got better running backs. He's got better wide receivers around him. This offensive line should be much improved. So I like Texas, even with, as you laid out, that really difficult schedule. And it is not easy, that's for sure. So one team I want to talk about here, you may notice there, kind of in the middle, South Carolina, right on that cut line, 9-3. Yeah, I'm pretty high on the Gamecocks. Okay, I think that this is a bounce back year, and
I thought I was high on them at 8-4. So,
see, there you go. Well, look, this is contingent upon one thing. I will say this. Okay, we all have seen, or most of us who follow this closely, or if you're a subscriber to the Morning Biscuits newsletter, you were well aware that Dylan Stewart and Jacarius Peak are battling injuries. Now, I listened to our friend Chris Marler of Locked On Gamecocks. He's saying that those guys are expected to be okay, expected to play. And South Carolina, early in the season, they've got Kent State and Towson in weeks 1 and 2. So as long as those guys are healthy by week 3, they should be okay. And hopefully they're healthy for the rest of the season. One thing I'm a little worried about here is that South Carolina, with Dylan Stewart, is his back. It's a back injury as far as I'm aware, and the back is that stuff can linger. So that's what I'm worried about. So caveat here, as long as those two guys are healthy, because that's a big deal for South Carolina's fortunes this year, then I do think that South Carolina can get to 9-3. It's a lot of it's based on their schedule, and kind of when I was going through it, I was like, there's some favorable things here on the schedule. And then not only that, but look, I think that this roster is quietly one of the better ones in the SEC. All right. They're not lower tier like a lot of people think of them. They've got a 48% blue chip ratio here. All right. Their general manager, who they don't call a general manager, he's done very well. And quietly, this is a very good roster. You've got Lenora Sellers, Dylan Stewart. You've got Nick Harbor coming back. You've got a really good nucleus. Jacarius Peak, you got him out of the portal. The offensive line talent should have been much upgraded. Now they've got to come together. But you've also got Kendall Briles. Okay. So I'm excited about this South Carolina team. Last season, I picked them. I responded to Ghost of Texas Football, our friend Cord Samuels on Twitter, and he asked who this year is a team that's getting hyped that you think the bottom could fall out of. I predicted South Carolina. Unfortunately, I was right. This year, I think it's a bounce back year, and I think that while Shane Beaver's on the hot seat, that South Carolina can do it. And let me point out a couple things here about this schedule as to why I think so. Tennessee at home. Nightmare at Willie B. again, okay? You get Texas A&M at home as well. And look, it's tough. You get Georgia. at the end of the year. That one's not going to be easy to win that game. I have them losing to Georgia, losing at Oklahoma, and then I've got them losing at Alabama. But other than that, I mean, all those games are winnable. And I don't think Clemson's going to be that great this year. I think they're going to be an okay ACC team. So there you go, man. There's my bold prediction. South Carolina 9-3.
That's a very bold prediction. But as I said, I felt like I was high on them at 8-4. 9-3 is, significantly better, and I think feels a lot better than 8-4. But it sounds like we're both kind of high on them. And I don't disagree with anything you said. I think there's a lot of potential there. I like the Kendall Browse hire. I've always been high on Lenora Sellers. I picked him to win SEC Player of the Year last year, which was a complete whiff. But I'm high on the guy. I think he's very talented, especially in the college quarterback. So I could see the Gamecocks doing it. 9-3, man, would be another special season. It would be a huge feather in Shane Beamer's cap to do that twice in 3 years. I mean, Shane Beamer, I am a fan of his. I think he's done a very good job there. But as you said, he's on the hot seat. That's legitimate. If he could get to 9-3, 2 out of the last 3 years, I mean, you're talking like, other than Spurrier, like nobody's ever done that probably. Correct me if I'm wrong here, South Carolina fans, but like you don't go 9-3, 2 out of 3 years of South Carolina ever. So that would be a really, really big feather in his cap and go a long way into just kind of solidifying where he's at. And I think he's done a good job building it. Can he get the success on the field? It'll be very interesting to see. I kind of talked a little bit about Vandy. I'm going to kick it to you and see. You wanted to talk about Florida and I think Mississippi State a little bit on your predictions here. So walk me through where you're at. Florida, you got going 7-5. Mississippi State 5-7. So what did you want to hit on with the Gators and the Bulldogs?
So with Florida here, I think that this team is solid. And it's same thing, like very similar to South Carolina. People are sleeping on the roster and how good this roster is. All right, go look at their blue chip ratio. John Summerall was able to keep a lot of that talent in Gainesville that Billy Napier had recruited. So people are sleeping a little bit on the Gators, partly because they're going to have a new quarterback, right? We know Aaron Philo is going to be the starter now. And you're bringing in – it's just new, right? Everybody's new. John Summerall and the coaching staff is new. Buster Faulkner at OC is new. You got a new quarterback who's coming in. But there's still a lot of talent here. And so if this thing comes together, man, this is my team right here. I've got them at 7-5. So I think they're going to have a pretty good year. But I could see them going 8-4 or better because this is one of those teams where you're looking at them early in the year. You're like, oh, Florida, okay, they're new coach, blah, 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 whatever, right? Well, we've seen in this conference before, a coach can come in and light it on fire. All right, this has happened at Auburn multiple times. It happened at Texas A&M under Kevin Sumlin early on. There's been many examples of this where preseason people are like, they're going to be okay. They're going to be all right. And then this coach comes in, and it was the right coach at the right time with the right roster and the right players. And boom, whoa, it's out of a rocket ship. And everybody, looking up week 5, week 6, like, oh, this team is like legit and we have to deal with them. So with Florida, that's kind of what I'm feeling. I think they go 7-5, but I do think that they're going to jump up and get somebody. And I'm going to make a prediction here, bold prediction, probably going to regret it. I think this is the year Florida gets Georgia. All right. And I know it's in Atlanta. It's not in Jacksonville this year. I know. But I think that people are sleeping enough on the Gators. And that one is in week 9. It's on Halloween, Spooktober for the Dogs. All right. And I think that the Gators are going to be able to jump up and get the Dogs. Now, they're going to lose a couple of these games. They're going to lose to the South Carolina Gamecocks, the one I just laid out. I think they're going to lose to Ole Miss. I think they lose at Mizzou also. And I think they lose at Texas. And I think they lose to Oklahoma. But they're going to jump up and get somebody. Who is that somebody this year? To me, I think it's the Georgia Bulldogs, even though Georgia still has a great year.
That is a bold prediction. I do not have Florida beating Georgia, although I do have Florida going. Why is nothing working? There we go. 7-5 here. So similar record. I'm not as high on the ceiling there. I think 7-5 would be a great year. I do not think they will beat Georgia. I do not think that they will, jump up and really like compete for the SEC. Georgia, I've got them I got them going 10-2. Their 2 losses to me are fairly chalky. I think they lose to Oklahoma, and I think they lose on the road at Ole Miss. Otherwise, I think they take care of business. The last one I wanted to talk about here, at least on my side, is the other Tennessee team, aka the University of Tennessee, the Vols, who just named Faison Brandon starting quarterback. Not super surprising, but interesting nonetheless, I would say, with McIntyre being the more experienced and Faison being a legit true freshman. So I've got them going 8-4. And I think if you're going to pick a team that could surprise, I think it's Tennessee, because we talked to our friend Ellie Williamson. The defense is going to be pretty salty, I think. The offensive line is returning basically everybody with the exception of the left tackle who transferred to Kentucky, whose name has escaped me, but 4 starters back on the offensive line. Deshaun Bishop returns in the backfield, and Mike Matthews and their other leading receiver, whose also name is escaping me, but their top 2 receivers off of last year's team are back. So really coming into the year, it was, hey, they've got a lot back on defense. They've got a new coordinator in Jim Knowles. The offense returns mostly everybody, but what's going on at quarterback? And look, Faison Brandon is a true freshman, so I've got them going 8-4. I don't think he's going to be all world yet, although he has a ton of talent. He's a 5-star. He's right up there with Jared Curtis in terms of, all the services ranking him. So he's got all the talent in the world. I'm not predicting him to have a, Heisman type of season, but I think all the pieces are there around him so that if he is ready earlier than people may think, Tennessee is a team I could see going 10-2, competing for the SEC and a spot in the playoff if things click with Faison Brandon, because I love the pieces he has around him, especially on offense. If I had to pick a side of the ball in Knoxville that I like better, outside of quarterback right now, it's offense. I think the defense is going to be good. I don't know that they're going to be, a top 10 defense in the country, but I think the offense is really set up for success, assuming Faison Brandon can have a pretty good year. And as we've seen with Heupel, he can do it. I mean, Hendon Hooker, Joe Milton, Joey Aguilar, even Nico early on, the offenses were still good. Now they weren't amazing except for the Hendon Hooker year, but the offenses are usually pretty good regardless of how good the quarterback is. So I like Tennessee there. Again, I pick them going 8-4, but if I have to make a kind of sleeper pick for possibly the SEC or CFP, I think Tennessee is right there for a team that could jump up and, make some real noise if Faison Brandon pans out.
I love that. Honestly, I do. I think you're right about Tennessee with the offense, because you just laid it out. All those quarterbacks, the quarterback is going to be good under Josh Heupel. That's just how, even Nico, as you said, Nico, when he was a freshman, right? He gets into that bowl game, he plays very well. And then the next season, it takes him a little bit of time, but he eventually gets it. They make the playoff, right? And Joey Aguilar, nobody really knows I don't think Joey Aguilar has the year he does unless he's under Josh Heupel last season. So I'm with you. The Faison Brandon thing, they are very interesting as that right under the radar of a sleeper team, as you mentioned, because Jim Knowles on the defensive side of the ball, how's that going to look with all these Penn State transfers? Those Penn State transfers have been in this system for a while. Everybody talks about, maybe year 2 is when Jim Knowles' defense really starts to take off. Well, a lot of these players they brought in from Penn State are in year 2 in his defense, and they've got some pieces on defense as well. So between Josh Heupel's offense, which is going to be good no matter what, and then the defense with Jim Knowles and with all these Penn State transfers, hey man, maybe they can do it. The receiver I think you were thinking of, Braylon Staley. I don't remember which one you mentioned. There's Mike Matthews, Braylon Staley. They're both back, right?
And then the true freshman, TK Keys out of Hattiesburg, who was the number 1 receiver in 26 class. And Ellie mentioned him when we had her on as somebody who had been turning heads in camp. So again, I'm not here to tell you he's going to have 1,000 yards as a true freshman, but he could be somebody that makes some plays in big time moments where, Faison Brandon, hey, need somebody to make a play, and that kid's got the talent to do it. So don't sleep on the balls.
The other one you were thinking of too, trusty Phil Steele's helping me out here. Lance Hurd is the tackle who went to Kentucky and left, but Tennessee still should have a decent defensive line or offensive line, as you mentioned. I forgot to get into Mississippi State here, so let me get into Mississippi State. And you got them at 6-6. I think we ought to talk about this team a little bit here. All right. Again, we talked about we're not going to be able to go through all of these teams, and as we talked about at the outset here, we got a lot in the middle here. But Mississippi State, you got them going 6-6. I got them going 5-7. I have said this on multiple shows. We talked about it as well with our friend Rivers Huey when she came on to discuss the Bulldogs with us. Super fan, Rivers Huey. I think this year Mississippi State is going to get somebody, man. I really like Camario Taylor. And looking at this, I'm like, I can't see them getting to 6 wins. Maybe they can. They're right on the cusp. I have a really tough time getting them to 7-5 or to 8-4 or anything like that. But I'm really high on Camario Taylor. I love this kid, his makeup and what he's got. If I'm picking it, okay, let me bring up the Bulldog schedule here so that we can talk about it a little bit. All right. Who are they going to get? I just said they're going to get somebody. Well, who are they going to get that gets them to that over? First of all, they're beating Minnesota, no doubt about it.
Of course.
Right.
I mean, that goes without saying. I have the SEC team. I think I have them going undefeated in out of conference, except maybe Texas lose to Ohio State. But
yeah, right, of course.
But yeah, I mean, I'll tell you. Look, I've got them getting to 6 wins, as you mentioned.
Right.
I think they go bowling this year. Truly, they did go last year as a 5-7 team, kind of a courtesy, bowl bid extension there. But I have them. So this is another thing that is in their favor. SEC goes to 9 conference games. So every other year you have 5 home games, 4 road games within the conference. Mississippi State has 5 home games this year. I think they can get, the way I have it playing out is I think they get Missouri, Vandy, and Auburn at home. And I think they lose their road games, and I think they lose to Bama and Oklahoma in Starkville. But I think they can get those teams at home. I think there's a lot of unknown on all 3 of those. It's hard to go into Starkville. I like Camario Taylor, so I think this is a pretty good football team. I got them going 6-6. You're muted.
Man, I had so many good things to say right there. All right. I'm back. You had Vandy beating or losing to them. Okay, you got Mississippi State beating Vandy at home. I had to give Vanderbilt a win somewhere, and there's no way they were going 3-9. So Mississippi State was the win that I gave them on the road, I guess. And then Missouri and Auburn. Those are the teams. I'm with you on those. I think that they get Missouri and Auburn at home, and I think that's what gets them to 5-7. So I think this team. And look, I'm with you too. I think they could even push for 6-6. So I think Mississippi State is going to be a fascinating team this year. I think there's one other team before we get to our SEC championship game picks and then to our SEC teams in the playoff. I think we probably ought to talk a little bit about LSU because they're a bit of an enigma this year. And what do we really think they're going to be? Brian Kelly last year gets fired. They just crash and burn after the Texas A&M game. Basically, the whole thing, the bottom falls out. They hire Lane Kiffin. They're spending $40 million on this roster, $50 million, depends on who you ask. The whole thing is new. The entire roster has turned over. They've got a lot of talent. I think the talent profile of the entire roster has upgraded. Sam Leavitt, we don't know how hurt he is or how not hurt he is. He had a great year a couple of years ago. Last year was kind of so-so returns. But he was the number 1 player out of the portal at quarterback. So there's a lot of unknowns, even though the talent is at a high level. And Lane Kiffin obviously has done a very good job just about everywhere he's been. The guy wins football games. So you have him at 9-3. I've got him at 9-3, right on that cusp of the college football playoff. Tell me a little bit why you have LSU 9-3, and then walk me through a little, their wins and losses.
Look, 9-3 is very good. As you said, that's right on the cusp. Might get them in, depending on how the dominoes fall. I have them at 9-3 because on the one hand, Kiffin has done a fantastic job recently in the SEC. The guy can win ball games. So I really don't doubt what he can do. They have upgraded the roster all over the place. They've got a ton of talent. I have them going 9-3 because I do think the schedule is difficult. They get Clemson out of conference, who I have them winning, but that's a tougher game than a lot of other SEC teams have. But I also just think there's too much new. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think what he's doing with these NFL guys, I don't think that bodes well for this team, the locker room this season. I think these are mercenaries. Lane Kiffin has done a good job of winning with guys like that in the past. I mean, look no further than Xavier Harris, who was extremely critical of Lane Kiffin and LSU last year after he left. And now he's committed to play for him at LSU because his NFL career didn't work out and Lane Kiffin has a check in his hand. So that's, I think there's a little bit too much new for me and a little bit too much unknown and a little bit too much, almost just too much pressure, which I think Kiffin has kind of brought on. Some himself, some just comes with the territory. Nothing he can do about it. But Kiffin's been saying things all offseason. The expectations are very high. They're spending a ton of money. So I just think that there's just a lot of pressure on that team. Look, if there wasn't a ton of pressure on him, and if he thought his team was really good, he wouldn't be bringing in guys from the NFL, right? Not only do I like, what Kirby and Dan Lanning have said from just an honorable standpoint of, hey, we're not interested in adding guys from the NFL, it also tells me they like the guys they have on their roster and they don't feel like they need to go get somebody, where Kiffin is like, hey, anybody, anywhere, please come play, which may work and doesn't necessarily mean his roster is bad. But I just look at that and think, okay, man, like something feels a little off here. So I've got him going 9-3, but that's right on the cusp of the playoff.
That's generally where I land. When I was going through the schedule, I was thinking probably 8-4. And then I started going through it and I was like, I don't know, I'm starting to feel a little bit better about this team. And I think with Lane Kiffin in year one, go back and look at it, 7-5 at Tennessee, 7-6 with the bowl loss, 11-3 year one at FAU, 5-5 year one at Ole Miss. That was 2020, the COVID season. I think that this is the most talented roster that Lane Kiffin is going to have in year one of any of these stops that he has been at. So should be a much easier rebuilding job than any of these other places that he was at. And the money's behind it, right? Like we all know, like to state the obvious, yeah, it should be the most talented roster. They spent $40 million on it. They're like second in the SEC in spending by the guesstimations out there on the NIL front. So you started going through that, thinking about it, looking at their schedule and how it all shakes out. And let's bring up LSU schedule. We can talk through it real quick. There you go. Nice. Yoga Lane. We have to add in our friend Rivers Huey there because she teaches in Pilates now. But so, I look at this and there's some tough games on there, but I do think that LSU is going to topple one or two that you're just really not expecting when you look at it here in the offseason, ahead of week one here in week 0. So give me, where do they surprise some people? Like, who do they beat here that you think might surprise some people where we sit right now?
Sorry, who's going to surprise some people?
What? No. Just like what might, like the game, the game or two that when you were going through and you were picking them, like, one or two games where you picked them to win that, some people right now might look at and be like, ooh, I don't know. That's a tweener game.
Sorry. I mean, I do have them beating Alabama, which LSU has not done.
Yeah.
Geez, feels like in forever. Over the last 15 years, I think they've won, was it 2019 and like 2013 or something? It's bad. So I do think they get Alabama. Otherwise, it's a pretty manageable schedule. I kind of, if they go 9-3, they're probably losing their 3 toughest games. I mean, at Ole Miss, Texas, Alabama, and at Tennessee are probably their 4 toughest games. So if they go 9-3, like you and I are both saying, they're probably losing 3 out of 4 of those because, look, Auburn could be tricky on the road, but, at Arkansas, Mississippi State, at home, at Kentucky, unless Lane's taking a trip to Dallas before that Kentucky game, I just don't see them. I just don't see them losing that. So, yeah, but I do think that Alabama one is probably one. I think they will win that one, which recent track record would show is a bad prediction based on the LSU Alabama rivalry.
TMZ, Biscuits and SEC right here. I got a question for you. I'm going to put you on the spot. Week 3, they play a little old team called Ole Miss, and they got to go to Oxford. Did you pick them to win or to lose?
To lose. I think they lose that one. I think they lose Texas, and I think they lose in Neyland at Tennessee. I think part of me thinks this is almost in a very different way, but similar to the A&M Texas thing, where everybody thought A&M was going to win, and it turned out it was just a little bit too much of a pressure cooker, and A&M kind of farted that game away, for lack of a better word. It was just not a good performance. Texas didn't play well either, but they outlasted A&M and got the job done. I could maybe see that happening with Ole Miss, where it's too much. The emotions are too high, they're too tight, and they don't play loose. At the same time, I just have a hard time. I think that whole environment is going to be charged up to 11, and I think Golding can keep those guys pretty calm. I think Trinidad Chambliss is a calming presence. I mean, look, if I'm comparing it to that A&M Texas scenario, A&M was playing with Marcel Reed, who was a freshman who had been thrust into the starting lineup midseason. Chambliss is 25 years old at this point. He's got a whole season under his belt. He started college football playoff games. So he's a calming presence. He's a guy that can command the huddle and run an offense effectively despite the high intense nature of that game. So I think Ole Miss just has to win that game. It might break Oxford if they lost. They have to win that game. And I want them to. I want them to, for the record, but they have to win that game.
Yep. I think the truth be told, I don't think we're saying anything crazy here. I think that most of America is rooting for Ole Miss in that game. Everybody except for the boot of Louisiana. I have LSU going into Ole Miss and beating the Rebels.
Shame.
I know. I'm sorry. I know all you guys who watch us on Stephen Willis's channel. Don't flame me in the comments. I get it. We're gonna kick Lane's ass. Fine, okay. And I hope you do. Okay. But I think there's the pressure is on them. The pressure is not on LSU. Kind of as you alluded to. This is Ole Miss has to win this game, right? They have to win it. And if they don't win, Oxford falls to the ground, And Lane Kiffin, he was able to walk out with their lunch money and then blow the whole thing up behind him. And he won, right? All the pressure is on Ole Miss and Pete Golding to prove himself. I'm Pete Golding. I took over for Lane Kiffin, and we're still going to win at Ole Miss. Great. I hope so. Hopefully that's the case. But I think all the pressure's on Ole Miss, so I'm taking LSU in that game to walk out of Oxford with a win. I think LSU's losses are Texas A&M, Texas in Week 11, and at Tennessee. So we had 2 of the same. My thing with Texas A&M is I get it. This is 2 years in a row having to go to Baton Rouge. Get it 2 years in a row walking out of Death Valley with a win. Go look at LSU's record in Death Valley in the last 10 years, all right? Nobody walks out of Death Valley with a win. And they sure as heck don't go into Death Valley 2 times in a row and come out with a win. But hear me out here. A&M has taken 2 out of 3 from LSU recently. And Blake Baker can't stop Marcel Reed, man. The first time that he stops Marcel Reed is the first time we have all seen it.
Mm-hmm.
He can't do it for whatever reason. So show me you can stop Marcel Reed. And this Texas A&M team is still loaded. They got a ton of talent. So I'm taking Texas A&M in that game, and but LSU to me still hits the over at 8.5. I think they get to 9-3 right on the cusp of the playoff, which in year 1 of Lane Kiffin, I think most LSU fans would be very happy with.
Yes, I agree. I think after this year, hopefully, Lane and everybody will just settle in a little bit. It's just, for me, it's just a little everybody's too amped up, too charged up for me to think that they're just going to roll, 10-2, 11-1, and go to the title. But long term, I'm very high bullish on the Kiffin era at LSU. And 9-3, as you said, would hit the over, would be a phenomenal season in year one. So we're not throwing shade at LSU. With that, let's get to our SEC championship game, college football playoff predictions here. So we've already shown our records one last time. This is top to bottom. Comment, like, subscribe, tell us how stupid we are below. But you can
screenshot.
Yeah, you can kind of see here what we're gonna be going with. So shocker, I have Oklahoma up against Georgia. Bossman has Texas going up against Georgia. We both have Georgia winning. I do have A&M going 10-2 as well. Oklahoma going 10-2. As an Aggie, though, I just know there's no way we could ever make it to Atlanta. We're not going to win whatever tiebreaker scenarios there are. So I'm giving the nod to Oklahoma, despite A&M and Oklahoma in my dream world scenario having the same record. But I don't know what your thought process was here. You can go talk real quick if you want. Kind of what we said at the outset. You just set your clock to Georgia at this point. They're back-to-back SEC champs. They're in Atlanta, it seems like, every year. If they don't win it, I have a hard time picking against them. Kirby seems like he's got a good team. I like a lot of what they got going on. So why would I pick anybody else to win was kind of my thought process here in picking Georgia to win the SEC. What about you?
Yeah. Right. I mean, why would you pick against them? Like, don't pick against them until they don't do it. And I'm not going to pick against them. Georgia does not really get talked about enough right now because everybody just expects them to be there. They want to talk about everybody else. Oh, this guy's interesting. This team's interesting. This team has all, these question marks and everything, right? Well, people aren't talking about the question marks for Georgia because there aren't a lot of question marks for Georgia. People are more interested in talking about all these other things and all the stuff that surrounds LSU and all, Texas A&M and all their question marks, and even Texas, what's going on in Austin and all that. People just know they know what to expect with Georgia. They know what comes with the territory with Kirby Smart. We went through it in our Biscuit Index of the Georgia Bulldogs, right? The last time they didn't win double-digit games was Kirby Smart's first year. First year, okay, excluding COVID. That guy's been there for over 10 years now. They're going to win double-digit games. They're going to go to the SEC title game. You can count on it. Death taxes, Georgia going to the SEC title game and making the playoff at this point. Not to mention, they got Gunnar Stockton coming back. All right. He is now a veteran in this system. It's his second year as a full-time starter. He has won multiple playoff games. He won playoff games last year. He won playoff game the year before that. You got SEC title game this year. I think it's going to happen. So give me Georgia. We have on this show, pat us on the back again, Gunnar Stockton. We have been believers from day one. And I think that so far we have been vindicated on that. I think we're going to be vindicated on that yet again this year. I think Georgia's got enough weapons. I think their run game is going to make a comeback. And I think this defense is going to be even better than they were last year, which probably the defensive line too, which was a bit their issue last year in certain games. So at this point, man, hey, we talk about trust Elko, right? Trust Kirby Smart, right? Some of these coaches, it's like, trust this guy. We just have trust in this guy. Trust Drink. Trust Kirby Smart. So I've got Georgia going to the SEC title game. And I know, look, it's the popular pick Texas versus Georgia. That's where I landed too. All right. When I went through the schedule, that's where I landed. You're less high on Texas, as we have talked about. And I'm a little higher on them. I just think they've answered the questions. I think Arch Manning's going to have a really solid year. He's got Cam Coleman on the outside. He's got Raleek Brown. He's got Hollywood Smothers in the backfield. Like, I almost called him Hollywood Brown, which is also a real person. But
yes.
But I'm already in season 4, man. I'm getting names right. We are football is back, baby. So yeah, I think it's Texas versus Georgia. I think that the tiebreaker there, A&M, I have them at 10-2, and I think Texas beats them again at the end of the season, which propels them into the SEC title game for the Texas Longhorns. And I think Georgia is there as well. Tell me why or where the tiebreaker is for Oklahoma that gets them in to the SEC title game. Is that the fact that they're going to beat Texas and Red River and they're going to beat A&M late in the season? What is it for you that propels them?
Probably they're. Yeah, I would say just vibes. I mean, last year, look, I don't even know what got A&M out of it last year. A&M went 11-1. So did Ole Miss. So I don't know what the tiebreakers are, man. I'm just saying it's not going to break A&M's way. A&M will be 10-2, Oklahoma will be 10-2, and Oklahoma's going to get the tiebreaker. Whether that means head-to-head or combined record of common opponents or whatever it ends up being, I just put them in there because I think, give them the slight edge. And A&M, look, we can't get to Atlanta. We never have. It's not happening this year. We'll go back to the playoff, but we're not getting to Atlanta.
All right. Well, here's the doctor. Stick in the thermometer in your mouth to check for BAS and how high that BAS temperature is, because, man, we have not even kicked off a single game, and Hammer's Texas A&M Aggie BAS is through the roof. For those who are not Aggies, that's battered Aggie syndrome. 10-2
is also pretty optimistic about the Aggies. So I've got it half and half. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, but then when it comes down to really, really making some noise, that's when I get the BAS flares up. It's like, oh, we have a good team again this year. Oh, there it comes. And I need someone to give me an EpiPen.
Oh boy. Well, when Arizona State is pushing the Aggies to the brink in week 2, your BAS is going to be at 104 and mine too.
It will. But let's close it out here with our teams that make the playoff. So last year, 5 SEC teams made the college football playoff. This year, I've got 4. Bossman has 3. We both have our beloved Aggies getting there. We both have Georgia getting there. We both have Texas getting in there. And then I've got Oklahoma in there as well. So I've got 4. You've got 3. I guess, look, you've got 11-1 Georgia, 11-1 Texas, 10-2 A&M. I've got 10-2, 10-2, 10-2, and then 9-3 Texas getting in. My justification there is Texas' schedule is incredibly hard, and they're not going to leave Texas out at 9-3 2 years in a row because of what a stink that fan base made last year, and because of it's a committee. They are a committee of human beings. They will remember this last year that they left them out and that everybody said they should have been in, at least everybody in Austin. And I think they'll let them in this year. I genuinely think that if they were 9-3 with that schedule and Arch Manning and Cam Coleman and all the guys, they would get in. So that's my reasoning. That's why I've got the Longhorns in there. I'm curious though, walk me through, your predictions all make sense based on the records you are projecting. Why only 3 SEC teams?
Yes, as you alluded to, my predictions are perfect. None of them will be wrong. It's a good question. I think that we're going to churn each other in the middle. It's kind of like I said, like it's kind of going to be a little bit of SEC on SEC violence in the middle of the conference. All right. Let me bring this right back up here. We talked about it at the top of the show. 9-3 LSU, 9-3 Alabama, 9-3 Oklahoma, 9-3 South Carolina, 9-3 Ole Miss. All right. 8-4 Tennessee, 7-5 Florida. Well, all those 9-3 teams in the SEC, they're not getting into the playoff. I don't know that this year. I mean, hey, you gave Texas the nod at 9-3, LSU at 9-3. A committee of human beings after all the stuff that has happened in the offseason with LSU, not only the Lane Kiffin stuff, but also what we led the show with. I don't know if that community of human beings lets LSU in the playoff at 9-3. So I think that there's enough SEC on SEC violence where we just kind of churn each other, and there isn't one that's able to jump up this year from that 9-3. Look, I could be wrong, maybe, and look, even maybe one of those teams in there is able to topple somebody. Alabama, say, right? Hey, man, maybe Keelan Russell's an absolute stud, and he lights it on fire, right? And Alabama gets to 10-2. Well, okay, then you got 4 in there. But to me, I just think that middle, I couldn't get one of those teams there. I only had them at 9-3, and I don't think this is the year that they get to 9-3. But what you said about Texas, if that is what happens with Texas, that makes a lot of sense.
Big Ten boss man, you heard it here. He doesn't believe in the SEC. He's only got 3 teams making it. Well, actually, I like that. I'm going to coin that Big Ten boss man.
I don't know if I like that at all, but yeah, you say whatever you want, man. We'll just call you ACC Hammer or something. I don't know. I'm gonna work on that, workshop it. But just put a cactus in my bio. I'm a known Texas Tech super fan.
True.
And Big 12 stan. So yeah, maybe it is the Big 10. Maybe it's the Big 12 that gets 4 in, or the ACC. The ACC with Cal and Stanford.
Yes. Yeah. The Pacific Coast Athletic Coast Conference might get some in. Well, let me just throw this up one last time. I think we've rambled enough. We're so close. We're actually basically here at the season. There will be games this Saturday. I think maybe even this Friday, but definitely this Saturday, including some good ones. So this is our final record predictions. Again, if you made it this far, please like, comment, subscribe, tell us how stupid we are, how we hate your favorite team, because a lot of that is probably going to be wrong. So we'll be the first to admit that we are not, genies that predict the future here. So a lot of that is probably going to look really bad at the end of the year. We'll go back and look, see how we did. We always track our over-unders, so we'll be keeping an eye on this stuff. Anything we got right, we will pump up. We'll let you know. Anything we got wrong, we will not bring up and never speak of it again. So without further ado, that is our SEC prediction show. Any last words, Boss Man, before we kick it back to you in the studio?
No, that's it, man. I'll see you guys on the other side.
All right. Appreciate y'all.
And we're back. Get this thing right. Okay, what's going on, everybody? That was our SEC prediction show. There you have it. Thanks for joining us in the chat. That was a lot of fun. Hammer and I got to put that together today. We pretty much went up to the wire. We were back and forth trying to figure out these games, and that's what we came up with. So, yeah, we'll check it at the end of the year. We'll see how that one ends up. Hopefully, it ends up pretty well. Maybe we get a couple from that middle tier there that end up jumping up there. Hey, Ole Miss fans, right? We have you at 9-3. I think there's a real good possibility that you guys are better than that, and you get to 10-2. You got a lot return on that team. We didn't mention a ton about Ole Miss tonight, and we kind of had to glaze over some teams and weren't able to dive as deep into all of them as we would like. But I think there's some teams that have the real potential. Oklahoma, Mike mentioned him a lot in the chat. They've got a real shot to jump up. Hammer's got them in the playoff. He's got them in the SEC title game. So, man, it is going to be a fun year. SEC football is back, baby. College football is back. We got games this weekend, and we got games coming up week 1 in just a little over a week away. We got SEC football games, man. I can feel it. The air is still super hot in Texas, but, man, it is about to get crisp and cool. Bonfires, beer, hanging out with your friends, tailgates. It's all here, man. All here, and we cannot wait. So want to thank all you guys for joining us here for our 100th episode of Biscuits and SEC Live. We got over 100 of you guys watching us right now. Hopefully, we will have 100 more episodes of this show. We absolutely love putting it on for you guys. The channel is growing. All of our social media is growing. Be sure, if you liked what you saw tonight, enjoyed the show, follow us at Biscuits and SEC. You can see it right there. And then the Biscuits to Broadway movement, man. Hey, it used to be Free Biscuits. As many of you know, we tried to go to SEC Media Days this year, but they would not let us in. They would not let us in. The man put us down, but don't worry. The Free Biscuits movement has turned into Biscuits to Broadway, because we're trying to go to Broadway in Nashville next season to be there for SEC Media Days. So how can you help us do that? You can follow us right there on social media. You can subscribe to the newsletter, biscuitsandsec.com/newsletter, the Morning Biscuits newsletter, which we've done for a long time. Keeps you up to date on everything going on in the SEC. And be sure to subscribe to the channel. Make sure you don't miss an episode. We've got a ton going on the channel right now, which I'll get to right at the end of the show. But we still have a couple segments here. Before we get out of here, since episode 1 of Biscuits and SEC Live, I'm pretty sure that's true. You can go back and check me on that, but I'm pretty sure since episode 1, we have done these segments, and we have continued for 100 episodes. We always do a Leach Coach of the Week. Used to be the Muschamp Coach of the Week, but now he is back on the sidelines. So we renamed this award after another favorite coach of ours, Mike Leach, who exemplifies what it meant to be a college football coach. And then we also do our Biscuit of the Week, which I'll get to in just a minute. That's how we end every single episode here. So the Mike Leach Coach of the Week, we give this one out every single week to a coach that exemplifies what it means to be a college football coach. Usually it's a soundbite, something like that. Sometimes it's motivational. Sometimes it's a good little quip. Mike Leach had plenty of both of those. The Pirate was well known for a good quip. Just go check out his marriage advice with Alyssa Lang, his mascot breakdown when he was at Washington State, and many, many other clips. But also he was very motivating and his players loved him. And so we like to honor a coach every single week that exemplifies that spirit of Mike Leach. May he rest in peace. This week, I have got one from a conference we don't usually go to. I think you guys will be interested to check this one out. So here is your Leach Coach of the Week right now.
Those Zips, go Arby's, and they truly do have the meats. Those Zips, go Arby's, and they truly do have the meats.
Joe Moorhead there, everybody, former Mississippi State coach, where Mike Leach also used to coach. And yeah, go Arby's, man. I don't know. I just thought that clip was funny, and it was a good way to end our 100th episode here. That one really doesn't exemplify anything except for where we are in college football, where you've got a coach signing and talking about Arby's in a random clip on the team's social media. So go Zips. Yeah, hey, I'm in for some curly fries too, my man. No doubt about it, Mike. All right, let's get into our Biscuit of the Week. Because we have been talking ball with so many folks on our Extra Biscuit shows, which you guys can check out over on our YouTube channel. If you are not watching us there, if you're watching us over on X, be sure to go over to our YouTube channel to subscribe there so you don't miss all the Extra Biscuits that we are cooking up, previewing all 16 teams, and we've got a lot more coming that we have planned for this season. So be sure to go over there and subscribe. But we have been getting a lot of great biscuit recommendations from all of our friends who have been previewing these teams with us on Extra Biscuits. So I've got one. We've heard this one a couple times now. In fact, I think it has the most mentions on our show. We're going to have to go back and look at the analytics here and the stats. But Biscuit of the Week, I think this one, because of what happened yesterday, this is really the only way that we could go. So here it is, your Biscuit of the Week from Loveless Cafe in Nashville. And look right there, bottom left corner, Miss Dolly Parton herself. May she rest in peace. The queen of country music. It felt like putting a Loveless Cafe on here, a Nashville spot, a Nashville biscuit spot that is beloved out there in Nashville. As we were learning, I've been to Nashville. I had not heard of the Loveless Cafe yet, but put it on my list. I can't believe I hadn't heard of it yet, especially, I mean, look at those biscuits right there. That biscuit looks unbelievable. Like perfect. Like if God made a biscuit in a lab right there, it would be that one. Okay. Right there. Perfectly golden brown on the top. It looks just doughy enough. It's not too crisp, but it's got a little bit of crunch. It looks like they make some great jelly there as well. And then goodness, could it be any better than what you see there on the right side? The biscuits and gravy there from Loveless Cafe. They serve all sorts of stuff there, but we heard this week from our friend Corey Burton that this is the one we needed to check out. And then we also heard it. Who else was telling us about this? Somebody else was telling me about this just the other day. It was one of the other ones who was on our show. I can't believe I'm forgetting right now. But anyway, we have had multiple people tell us that the Loveless Cafe is where you got to go. So next time we are in Nashville, potentially when we are in Nashville on Broadway for SEC Media Days in 2027, because hashtag free biscuits worked and the SEC media office heard us and they freed biscuits and let us into the hotel to set up on Radio Row, on Digital Drive, wherever it may be. Just let us in the door. And maybe we would treat them to Loveless Cafe. So once again, rest in peace to Dolly Parton. Loveless Cafe in Nashville, Tennessee. Does that not look like the best biscuit you will ever have in your life? Also, they're apparently going to open up just a little spot. Corey Burton told us about this. He keyed us in on this. If you're going to Nashville soon, go to the Loveless Cafe to sit down and have a meal. But if you're in a hurry, apparently they're opening up a little spot right next door that just sells only biscuits. So you can have to-go order of just biscuits from what you just saw on the screen. Looks incredible. So be sure to check them out the next time that you are in Nashville. All right, y'all. This has been the 100th episode of Biscuits and SEC Live. We got over 100 of you guys watching us right now, I am sure, from all over the SEC footprints. We really appreciate every single one of you guys watching us tonight. Again, the Morning Biscuits newsletter, be sure to go and sign up right there. That will start coming to you twice a week instead of once a week during the off season. Twice a week starting next week, Monday and Fridays. Get you caught up from everything that happened over the weekend. And then on Fridays, we get you ready to go for all the weekend's games, just in a quick little format, right to your email. Free to sign up as always. And then we are brought to you guys by the Steer Agency. Appreciate those guys for sponsoring us for so long for our 100th show. And we are also part of the After Dark Network right there. Tuesdays, off-season After Dark. Mike, if you are still with us, let me know what you got going on. I will let everybody know what is happening on the off-season After Dark channel. We are also part of SEC After Dark every Thursday night, 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central. We will be over there, and that means the season's here. That means we're making picks. We make our picks every single week on Thursday nights at 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central on SEC After Dark. So be sure to check all of the crew out over there tomorrow night. And then Bama After Dark, that is our friend Jake Thomas. He does a good job covering the Tide. That one should be kicking back up here soon. Been on a little bit of a hiatus since it was the offseason. But because we got games right around the corner, and a lot of big news, man. Keelan Russell being named the starter this week for the Tide. Jake Thomas should be kicking that one back up soon. So be sure to subscribe to his channel and check him out on social media at Bama After Dark. All right, there he is, Mike Huseman, Offseason After Dark. This is what he's got going on. Notre Dame episode on Friday. Man, that's a big one. Notre Dame potentially a playoff team, potentially a national title contender this year as well. MAC preview as well. SEC prediction episode with Jake Thomas coming up this week too. So man, he's got a ton going on for sure. That is good to see. Be sure to go subscribe to the Offseason After Dark channel and follow Mike at Mike Huseman 49, I think is what it is on Twitter. And then also at Offseason After Dark, where you can find all his content. And then finally, guys, I just want to plug this one more time before we get out of here. We have been doing a ton on the front of the YouTube channel. So be sure to subscribe there. We're previewing all 16 teams. Today was Alondra Villarreal from 104.5 ESPN. You can follow her at @AloVillarreal _ on X. We had a lot of fun previewing the LSU Tigers season. It's going to be a fascinating one, man, this year in Baton Rouge. We've got Jake Crane coming up on Friday, I believe it is. That is when I plan to get that one out. I mean, we've had so many good guests. We had John Tweet Sports previewing the Dogs. We had Cord Samuels previewing Texas. We had David Waters previewing the Florida Gators. We had Corey Burton recently previewing the Vanderbilt Commodores, which is going to be, it's going to be interesting for them. Sooner Smiths, that one came out very recently as well. Had a good time on their podcast too. Be sure to check that one out. We also had Maggie Johnson previewing Mizzou. We didn't talk a lot about Mizzou tonight, so be sure to go check that one out. Drink wins 8+ games, it seems like, every single year, and both of us had them a little bit lower. Maggie Johnson, much higher on them. She gave us the breakdown as to why. So be sure to check that one out. I found my graphic. Jake Crane coming out Friday. He was kind enough to give us some of his time. He is a busy, busy man. They got a lot going on. He just had a second kid as well. So he helped us preview the Auburn Tigers, team he roots for. Carter Carls previewed Texas A&M with us as well. That one's going crazy. All the Aggies are excited about the season. That is one of our highest performing videos ever on YouTube. So thank you to Carter for his time. We had Ellie Williamson. I couldn't find her graphic. My computer's all screwed up. I don't know what's going on. But Ellie Williamson helped us preview Tennessee. Reagan Scarta helped us preview the Razorbacks. And there is much, much more. Rivers Huey right there, Mississippi State. So as you can tell, guys, there is a ton going on at Biscuits and SEC. We are just getting started. As I led the show with, for those of you, we got over 115 of you or so watching us right now. I led the show with this. We have some big announcements that are coming, and I can't fully give you exactly what they are yet, but do want to just tell you that there is a lot coming down the pike for Biscuits and SEC. I think this season, everything is going to stay the same with the channel, and everything is going to continue, and we're going to continue to build Biscuits and SEC. So nothing really is changing there, although Bossman might be in some remote locations. Let's just put it that way for parts of the season. So we will be able to hopefully make 2 big announcements next week. At the very least, we'll be able to make one. And I promise you another one is coming too. So some big, big stuff coming down the pipeline for Biscuits and SEC. And it's all because of you guys. We really can't thank you guys enough all for watching us here and watching us grow this channel and watching us grow, kind of grow up on this, man. It's been 100 episodes. So we've just been trying and figuring this out as we go and having an absolute ball, talking ball. So, all right, everybody, I'm going to let you guys go. Been 100 episodes here of Biscuits and SEC live, and stay fresh, stay Southern, and remember, there's always room for one more biscuit. We will see you guys tomorrow night for SEC After Dark, and we'll see you guys right back here next week, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central, for Biscuits and SEC Live, episode 101. I'm Bossman. Adios.